Right now to weigh in, Republican Senator Luther Strange of Alabama. Senator, it's good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mary. Glad to be with you.
Would you vote for a straight repeal of Obamacare?
Absolutely. I strongly support the president's tweet, his statement this morning. That's what we promised the American people. I think we should do it. And it's actually what we voted on in 2015. I was not here at that time. I thought that was the plan, and I'm glad to see us get to that point.
Well, listen, I don't want to go and cry over spilt milk, but why didn't you do this from the beginning?
Well, that's a great question. I've only been in the Senate for 4.5 months. I thought the original plan was to do what we did in 2015, to repeal and then replace it over time, bring the Democrats to the table. They, after all, caused this disaster, certainly affecting my state. So I think we're in a good position now. I strongly support this position.
Can you characterize what's going on there in the Senate? I mean, okay, you've been there for 4.5 months, fine. But a lot of people today, Senator, are scratching their head saying, how is it possible that the Republicans are in charge of the House, the Senate, and the White House, and yet we cannot even get any legislative victories, whether it's health care or tax reform, and it's been 7 months?
Well, it's very frustrating. I'm incredibly frustrated, just like the people of my state are. We've got to have results. You know, it's governing within 52 votes. We have a spectrum of views in the caucus, and that's played out now. We have no more excuses. Now we need to get back to where the president has promised us to go and where we've promised to go, and that's repeal and replace. We can do that, Maria. I really believe we can. We need Senator McCain back in the fight, but I'm looking forward to getting to work this morning.
So let's talk about what's next here and what the timeline looks like then. What's next for you and your colleagues in the Senate? Do you now move on to tax reform, or what is the process in terms of the repeal?
Well, we'll have that debate today at our caucus lunch at noon. Everybody's digesting, I'm sure, what the president said last night, what Senator McConnell said last night about the resetting, I guess, of the clock here. I'm for getting on to taxes because, as you know, and certainly I think the citizens of this country know, tax reform is the most fundamental way we can bring relief to our citizens, certainly in my state. So I'm anxious to get there. I think we can do more than one thing at a time. I certainly hope we can. So that's what we'll learn more about the details this afternoon.
Well, what about tax reform? I mean, we're looking at an earnings period right now which seems to be driving markets. Goldman Sachs just reported better than expected earnings this morning at $3.95 versus an estimate of $3.40. That's one part of the growth story, but people believe tax reform will actually move the needle on economic growth. Do you think there's common ground within the Senate, or are you going to have more fights over a border adjustment tax, over the level of a corporate tax rate? Or the deductions, what stays or goes?
I actually think there's much more common ground on tax reform, and it's certainly what I hear as I talk to businessmen and women, small and large. They're optimistic, and they have been investing somewhat, as your stories and reports on the markets indicate. But think about what can be unleashed if we actually address some of these fundamental problems, and I think we can get there.
All right. In terms of the story on tax reform right here, what can you tell us about your colleagues? What's most important in terms of the sacred cows that they want to keep in any tax reform package? Where is the common ground?
I'm not looking to keep things. I'm looking to eliminate things and reduce things, like the corporate tax rate, simplify for our citizens their own tax returns, repatriate money from overseas, which is critically necessary. All things that I think the White House and the Senate agree on, things that are oriented towards growth in the economy. I think there's a lot of agreement on that. Now, as you know, Maria, when it comes down to specifics, everybody has their sacred cow. I don't know where they are. As far as I'm concerned, everything should be on the table to get to growth in this economy.
Yeah. Do you think this division within your party on health care spells trouble for some of the president's other priorities? I mean, are you going to have real division when it comes to whether or not to do tax reform revenue neutral?
I don't think so. I hope not. I think the sense of the caucus, and I can't speak for my colleagues, of course, but the sense I have and my position is to aim for growth. Aim for growth. A growing economy obviously benefits everyone, whether it's revenue, whether it's job growth, wages, all across the board. So that's the side I'm leaning on. I think the majority of our caucus is too.
Let me ask you, Senator, a lot of people in the House, congressmen, are asking this question, and so I want to ask you, can you tell us what was the thinking, why the Senate would not just vote on the House's bill in terms of health care?
Well, I don't think the House bill is as good, just speaking for myself, as a pure repeal and replace over time the 2015 deal. We're just moving things around. We're still spending a lot of money. I'd rather see the repeal, bring the Democrats to the table, and replace over a 2-year period. what the president supports. I strongly support the president's position on that. I think it's the right way to go.
So how will the transition look? So you vote, you said you're going today to vote on a repeal. Let's say you all vote yes to a repeal. What does the next 2 years look like in terms of the transition for people who are depending on that insurance?
Right. Well, I think we have to be clear that we can't pull the rug and won't pull the rug out from people, their existing plans. We have to stabilize, number one, give enough assurances that we leave in place the systems that we have over a period of time, but we make it clear that there's an urgency to go in and fix the failing problems. And there are probably things in there Democrats would like to see. I would support the more market-based, get the government out of our people's hair position, give the choices back to the states. That would be a robust debate, but we would have eliminated Obamacare, and we would create that urgency by having a deadline. We can do that and then get to tax reform, and I'd like to see us get to regulatory reform and other things as well, things we promised to do.
But you and many of your colleagues were willing to leave that 3.8% investment tax in there. I mean, as a Republican, how do you talk to your constituents and respond to their worry that you were going to leave Obamacare taxes in there? Are there going to be Obamacare taxes in a new replacement?
Well, not if I have anything to do with it. I think we need to be reducing taxes. I have a hard time convincing anyone it's a good idea to leave anything related to Obamacare in a bill.
Right.
So that's why I like repealing straight up, and then let's get to the debate and make the Democrats put up or shut up, come to the table, see if they'll work with us, which they're, of course, not doing now.
That's got to be difficult that you don't have any support on the Democratic side. I mean, have they indicated when they will participate in governing?
I think they want us to fail, frankly. What our word is once this fails, then we'll talk about it. It's what we have to bring them to the table, and this is one way to make them do that, to cause them to come to the table. Problem, Maria, is that in my state, individual premiums have tripled, the highest in the country of all the states. We've got to protect our most vulnerable and preserve the system, the Medicaid system, for what it was intended, the poor, women and children, disabled. We're not doing that right now, and we're on a course, as the president said many times, for disaster. And we've just got to address it. We've done it before in 2015. Now we're in power. We've got to put up or shut up.
Are you expecting to lose seats next year in the elections because of this?
I don't think so. I think if we demonstrate our ability to govern and actually get conservative solutions in place, then we'll win. We have the best message. The problem is we've got to come together and actually lead.
Yeah, and you've got to get that message and actually articulate it, because
Absolutely.
A lot of people wonder if you actually are articulating the messaging properly here.
I think the Democrats are very good at messaging. Their message is everything's horrible. Republicans are going to burn the world down. We're not quite as good. We're trying to find solutions, not just talking points.
Senator, I know you've got a lot on the agenda. We'll be watching. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Maria.
We appreciate it. Senator Luther Strange joining us there. Coming up, growing tensions with China, why American allies are placing drone orders with the East Asian country instead of the United States. Straight ahead. And then General Motors